Howdy everybody, here is your video from Quilting in the Valley on how to make, we have fuzz on us, on how to make one of these Shannon kits.
No picture.
What?
Was there a picture there?
Oh yes, there's a picture on how to make the Shannon kit. Okay, so I chose to make the one that's in the picture. So on the back, it tells you what you have to cut. So the very first thing you do is you're going to unroll all of your pieces and lay them out in the order that you're going to have for your quilt. So I know what's going to go in the middle. I know what's going to go, on either side, yada, yada. And then you get 8 10-inch pieces of fabric. What you have to do is you have to go in there and cut some of them. So since we chose to do that layout, I have 2.5-inch strips here of this one and 5-inch strips of this one because that's what that picture had. I want to make it like the picture, okay? And there's fuzz everywhere. But if you cut one color at a time and then very carefully shake them out over the trash can and then whoosh all of your stuff and then use a wet paper towel to clean your cutting station, you'll be fine. All right, so I have these laid out where I want them, and I'm actually gonna just lay these on my table. If I were at home, I would have to do this on the floor because I don't have 2 tables I can push together at home. But we had 2 tables here that I could use for this. Okay, so my pieces are in order now. I have my backing is laid out on my 2 tables, so I have plenty of space, and I have my spray based. You can use 505, you can use Sullivan's, whatever floats your boat. I am going to put batting in here. You do not have to put batting if you don't want to. You can just sew the front pieces to the back and call it a day. But if you want to really, 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 really like, oh my, this is a luxurious one, add your batting. So I'm gonna get my batting, which I've already pre-cut.
With the batting too, it almost makes it like it's a weighted.
Yes, yes. So, and I'm using black batting because I had it, and this is a dark quilt, so it is what it is. All right, so I'm gonna lay this out over the backing. I'm gonna spread it out nice. Get it where I want it before the spray base ever touches the backing.
Why would that be, Lisa?
Because you got yourself a mess if you're trying to spray baste first and then get this batting laid on there. And I don't want a mess. Okay, and my batting is too long for my backing, which I knew it would be. So I'm just going to cut in here just with a pair of scissors and cut this extra off. You do not have to be super accurate with this because all these pieces are not going to sew up the same anyway. You're going to end up with oddly shaped sides, and you're going to have to square it when you're done. These are fabric scissors, and somebody was using them for packing. I almost smacked them. Okay, now I've got this on here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to peel back just this much. And I'm going to take my spray baste and I'm going to go that much. That's all I need. I do not need to kill this with spray baste. And then I'm going to smooth this out. And just make sure I don't have any bubbles or anything. And I can go like this, and you can see it's sticking. I do not need to put a ton of spray baste on there. Okay, so I've got that side down. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this back to where I basted. And I'm gonna put a little bit more on. And then I'm gonna come in here and just smooth out. Oops, I'm not gonna pick it up as I go. I'm just gonna smooth this out.
It kind of helps too to have two people.
Oh, it very much helps to have two people, but most of you won't
Right.
have two people at home. But I'm just going through here and I'm just pressing out any wrinkles with my hand and kind of moving it along here. Let's see, I'm out of spray base, so I need a little more here. Okay, I'm gonna keep doing this. Just press that out with my hand. Trying to get all these wrinkles pulled out. I don't want wrinkles. So you'll smooth these out a little bit at a time. And you don't want to be pulling this batting on and off once it's spray basted down, because if you do, you're going to stretch the heck out of it. And then it's going to be very hard to get it to lay flat. Okay. Now I'm up to this. It's way over there. And I'm up to the end. Okay. So I'm going to put a little spray base down in here. And then I'm just going to finish rolling this out. Keeping everything smooth.
If they were doing this on the floor, they would probably want to do it on like a hardwood floor
Yeah, don't do it on carpet.
Because for one thing, the spray based is washable.
Yeah. And you can't pull your carpet up and wash, so, okay. All right. Okay, now I got my piece set. And I know that I am going to start with the center piece. So I'm going to measure and I got about 6 feet. So I'm going to measure in from my batting. I'm going to measure 3 feet in. So that's right here. And I'm going to make sure I have 3 feet at the other end. Again, you don't have to be super. Yep, that's right at the center, right there. Then I'm going to take my center piece and I'm going to center it right where I marked. You're going to work from the center out. So, thank you. Save me a trip over there. Okay. All right, so I'm going to do this again. I'm going to make sure that I'm on my backing, which I am right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm going to put that down, and then I'll roll it back. And I'm just going to roll this right out across the whole piece. And then we'll come over here because this table's very wide. And I'm just going to finish that. Just like that. Okay, that's my first piece. Now is when you're going to pin until you're blue in the face. So I'm going to grab some pins. Okay, in your directions, it tells you to pin 2 layers to keep everything from moving. You probably won't have to do that with the spray base. So I'm going to look at my picture here. And on my picture, I have my 5-inch brown piece here and a 5-inch brown piece here. So I'm going to take my 5-inch brown piece. And I'm gonna line it up with my, whatever that is, leopard.
Looks like leopard to me.
Yeah, leopard piece. I am not gonna double pin like they say to do because I don't think I need to with the spray based. They want you to pin this to within an inch of its life. And I am just simply not gonna do that.
We're lucky we're getting any pins in it.
That's right. That's right. And I am going to save some time, and I'm going to pin both sides that I have to do at the same time so that I can sew both of those seams without having to come back over here. Okay, now I gotta go over there. Okay, remember I said it wasn't gonna line up exactly right? So see how I have extra on this one to this one? And that is just the nature of this product. It's the way it works. Oh, I should have thought of that, shouldn't I? Okay, and make sure you got your pieces lined up. As you go across.
Now, when you're going to sew this down, you are using a walking foot.
I am doing.
Would you use your dual feed?
I have used my dual feed for smaller things. I don't think I would use it for this big of a project. Because this is some pretty thick stuff.
So you really do want a walking foot if you're doing something like this size.
With this kind of fabrics in it, yes. So this is the high pile.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty thick. You're going to go through a whole lot of thicknesses here. So if you are not spray basting and you are not using a walking foot, you would need to follow the directions that are in with the Shannon kit. And what they have you doing is pinning every inch this way and then coming in and pinning in between them this way to keep everything from moving. This is a knit fabric and it's high pile and it will move around on you if you don't secure it. I'm not too awful worried about it.
Well, and two, with this, precision isn't.
Yeah, precision is not key with this. You can get away with a whole lot.
And probably, like our fine pins, you might want the heavier.
Yeah, these are a little bendy in this. I am using the extra fines because that's what we have open, and they are a little bendy.
So, like, remember those old yellow-headed ones?
Yes.
Those would be the perfect ones probably for this.
Or actually, if you have a long arm, using your long arm leader pins would be great. Okay, so I'm ready to do my first two seams. Now, how am I going to get this from here to there? Very easily. So I'm going to take this side and I'm just going to roll it up. And that will keep all of my layers that I've spray basted and put together, that'll keep everything where it's supposed to be. And it'll also make it a lot easier to handle when I've got it underneath the sewing machine. So I'm just going to roll this up like so.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I have a big old sausage sandwich that I'm going to put under the sewing machine. Let's talk about setting up the sewing machine. So I'm going to come in here, and the very first thing I'm going to do is, if you're on a Bernina, which a lot of you will be, if you're on a Bernina, I'm going to make sure I choose my foot.
Which is a 50.
Which is a 50. And I'm going to go into Sewing Advisor. I am going to tell it I'm working with fur. I'm going to tell it I'm doing straight seams. And then I'm going to tell it yes. And what it did was it changed my presser foot pressure. So that went down significantly. It changed my presser foot pressure significantly. And that is going to help you keep from sliding everything away. Now I have to go and choose my walking foot again because it put me back to a number 1 foot, but that's okay. The other thing that I want to do, and that right there, what it did was it set me to a slight ziggity-zaggity stitch. I don't want that. I want a straight stitch. You could do the ziggity-zaggity stitch like this. You could do that if you wanted to. There. You could do that, and then you would have some stretch and your seams wouldn't break if you pull on them. I'm just going to do a straight stitch. I don't think there's anything wrong with a straight stitch, so I'm going to do a straight stitch, but I am not going to do this 2.5 millimeter stitch. I am going to jump that up to a 3. You don't want to take a ton of little stitches in this because all it's going to do is hold this up underneath your foot. Okay? So increase your stitch length, reduce your presser foot pressure, use your walking foot. I have a knit or a ballpoint or a jersey. Either of those would work. Needle in, and that is because we're working with knit. They ask that you use polyester thread. I'm not. I'm using Aurifil because I always do, and there's nothing wrong with that. So, if you have polyester thread, go ahead and use it. If you don't worry about it. Use your Aurifil. And then when I stitch this, I'm gonna pull this over so I can do that. And I'm just gonna rest it in my lap. When I stitch this, I'm going to stitch with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And I know that the outside of my walking foot is about 1/2 inch. So that little groove right there is a 1/4 inch. If I go all the way to the outside edge, I'm at a 1/2 inch. So I am now going to start to stitching. And I'm not going to stitch over my pins. Just keep it straight underneath the throat. And if you need to adjust the sausage in your lap, just kind of pull it over as you go. Ouch. Don't stick the pins in your hand. Take those pins out as you go. By the way, I do have bobbin thread in that matches the color of my backing. You won't even see it. Okay, I gotta adjust my sausage. Okay, so I got to the end of that one. Now I'm gonna very carefully take my sausage and, oof, this is heavy. Holy cow, this is heavy. Okay, I'm gonna take my sausage and rotate it underneath my presser foot so I can get to my other seam that I need to do. Readjust my sausage in my lap. There we go. And now I'm gonna do this side. And you see how nicely that walking foot is performing with this fabric? Especially with the reduced, and I'm pulling, I need to get that up. With the reduced pressure on the pressure foot. If you don't have a walking foot, it's time. There's a lot of different things you can use a walking foot for, this being just one of them. We're still like I am. Okay. I'm gonna pull my big old sausage back on my table and unroll it enough that I can get to my next two pieces. Okay, I'll go over to the other side in a minute, but here's what the back side looks like. So you just have your straight seam that you just did. That's all that's on there, is that straight seam. Okay. And on the front side, we now have these two pieces done. So I'm going to take my spray baste and I'm going to get that down in place. I'm going to go to the other side and do it on the other side. Pull out your backing and make sure everything's laying straight. Make sure your seam is pulled out so you don't have bumps going on. Okay, then I'm gonna get my pins and I'm gonna put my next two pieces on. Well, my next two pieces are gonna be this creamy looking one. And I'm gonna do exactly what I just did for the first two pieces. So, you guys don't need to watch me do this. I will pin and sew and pin and sew, rotating from side to side. So I'm gonna put these two cream pieces on next for my particular design. So I'll put these on next, and then I'm gonna do the next two wide pieces, And then my narrow pieces, I'm gonna follow my pattern out. So every time I come from the sewing machine, I come over here, spray baste it down, and I add this piece and this piece. Go back, sew the 2 seams, come back, spray baste them down, add this piece and this piece until you're at the end. We'll come back when we're at the end.
Okay.
Okay. So, we've done, I have all my strips on. I've done 3 sides, but basically, and this is going to be a bear no matter how you do this, because you're going to be working in your own sewing rooms with smaller cutting tables. But I have got 2 cutting boards lined up back to back, and I'm lining my square end up with each side, and then choosing a measurement that I'm going to cut to. So I'm going to be on the 20-inch line, and I just want to verify that I stay on that 20-inch line and cut. Let's see, this would be easier for me to do this on this side. Do-si-do. All right, so again, I'll just keep lining my ruler up. And I mean, this is not the easiest thing to do, no matter where you are. This particular part, just do the best you can. See, that's my 20-inch right there. And that's my 20-inch right there. Okay. Okay, and then that gets me a whole lot of fur babies off of this one. Whoops. I'm gonna cut right there because that's right in between my 2 cutting mats. There. Okay, so we've got it squared up, and I have my ends pinned so that things don't move around on me. But in effect, this is what you should look like. That's what your back should look like. So all you have across the, oh goodness, all you have across the back are just straight lines. And now we're gonna get our binding ready. That weighs 100 pounds. So our binding strips, you do not have to angle these. You should have cut them 1 3/4 inch. I think that's the extra one. You should have cut them 1 3/4 inch. Ooh, that's, and you should have, I believe, 5 of them. It calls for 5. But you can just butt them up end to end. You don't have to angle these. Nobody's gonna know the difference. It won't show. You're gonna make your big long strip of binding with 5 strips. And if you didn't get exactly 1 3/4 inches, it doesn't matter that much. What we're gonna do is we're gonna sew this onto the back, and then we're gonna turn it to the front and zigzag it to get it into position. And we're doing that 1/2 inch seam, just like we did with everything else. Was this 5 strips? I can't remember. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. I don't know how we had extra, but we have extra. Okay, so I'm going to take this, and like I said, I'm going to sew to the back side. Right sides together. And this, by the way, weighs 150 pounds at this point. And I do have pins in here holding my edges lined up on both ends, because otherwise they might move around on you. Okay, so I'm going to start not at the corner. You don't want to start at the corner. Start down from the corner. And your 1/2 inch seam. And just sew this on the back. So you don't need to watch me do this. I'll be back when this is on. I am in 0mm. And my walking foot on.
You have your 9mm foot on, or plate in?
Yes, I do. Okay, and I'm going to use that stitch.
Which,
Okay.
the serpentine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, ready?
Ready.
Ready. Here we are. So I got my binding on the back. I mean, I did kind of a miter at the corners, but it's all fuzzy and you're never going to know. So just give yourself a little extra at the corner so that you have enough to make a nice corner. Anyway, so what you're going to do now is you're just going to wrap it over to the front, and you can binding clip this, you can pin it, you can do whatever you will to get this turned over to the other side. I'm going to clip that seam allowance there. Stuff everywhere. Anyway, so I have chosen on my machine, I've chosen this stitch right here. So
Which is stitch number what?
4 on this machine. It's stitch number 4. And that's not, let's see. So stitch number 4 comes out like that originally. I don't want that much. So I elongated it so that I have that. Okay. And then I'm gonna, you can do a zigzag if you want to. I don't want to do a zigzag because I'd be doing this for the rest of my life. So, so I'm just running that right through.
Are you don't want to do your stitch length bigger, or is that?
That is my stitch length.
That is, okay.
Yeah, so I elongated my stitch length to get that nice long serpentine look stitch. And I will do this side and get to the corner, and then I'll show you what that looks like. So I have got the binding pulled up, and I have got it even with the inside tongue of my walking foot. And of course, your walking foot on a Bernina at least is 5.5mm stitch width. So my serpentine is 5.5mm stitch width.
It also, having your walking foot sitting on the edge like that helps hold that
Yes, absolutely.
binding down.
Absolutely. Yep. So long as you get it turned in, this side of the walking foot is going to help hold it in place. And honestly, on the ones that I've done myself, where I've cut my own fabric, I've done wider binding strips than this 1 3/4. I think is pretty tight. So I have actually in the past done up to a 3-inch binding on Minky.
Which would be kind of neat.
Yeah. Well, and that just gives you plenty to play with. If yours, like my seam allowance, it looks like was, no, it wasn't. Our cut was off, it looks like, on this one. So, okay, so that's good. The cut is off, so you know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna roll the whole thing in so that I have plenty of binding to roll over.
Kind of folding that
Yep.
seam allowance in between the binding and.
Yep. So, see, it's a good thing that I rushed through this to get this done for you guys. This is not my best work, I will tell you that. I have been rushing to get this done for you so that you would have it before Christmas. This is not my best work, but whatever, it is what it is.
It'll look all wrinkly on the couch anyway when you're covered up. So
That is right. Okay, when I get to my corner, I'm going to pull this side in and pull this side over.
okay, can you kind of move your fingers so I
Yep.
can?
So I pulled this side in and then this side over. So I do kind of have a little miter there. I'm going to sew all the way down. And when I get here, I'm going to pivot. Ow, there's a pin there. Somewhere there's a pin. Oh, here it is. I just got poked. Okay, and I'll pivot with my needle down. So I didn't stop anything. I just pivoted with my needle down. And then I'm going to keep going around that corner. The same way.
So that's all that you're going to do all the way around this then?
All the way around. Okay, so that was your one corner. Let me get to the next corner, and then I'll, oh, there's another pin. And another pin. I'm not stabbing myself here. Let me get to this other corner, and then I'll cut thread and let you look at what it looks like. And you got to keep in mind, this is not my best work because we have, start to finish, we've done this in what, 3 hours? And it should take longer. So another pin. If you were worried about your layers slipping and you didn't want to have to pin everything, you could baste stitch your ends to keep them nice and straight. Ooh, this one's really soft. Another pin. Oops, and I got a little bit of, it looks like when we cut, we had a little goober there. So I cut that off. The good news is that this is very forgiving. Especially with this fake fur stuff going on. Okay, so I'm on my corner, so my bottom I fold up all the way out, and then I'll bring the side in. And then I'm going to stitch right into the corner, stop needle down, and pivot. And then keep going. Okay, let me cut my thread, and then you can see what that looks like.
You can't even see.
No. Yeah. Yeah, you really can't even see the stitching, and it disappears into the fur. But there's your binding. Easy peasy. Take a little more time than I did, so yours looks nicer than mine. I have a little wiggly things going on in a couple different places, and it would have been better had I had more time. So take your time when you're doing this. Use enough spray base to make sure things don't move, and pin.
Something too is they check their spray base, because sometimes it gets old. If you've had it around for a while, it kind of loses its tackiness.
Oh, true. Yeah. Yeah, you can't have it for like years and years and then expect it to work. So, make sure you've got a relatively fresh can of it if you want it to work well. But anyway, this, you guys, is how you, oh dear. Yeah, see, this is not my best work. I'm going to fix that. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.